Modern humans first appeared on the African continent approximately 300 to 200,000 years ago, but the earliest known site that has evidence of stone tool technology dates to 3.3 million years ago. This is a site called Lomekwi in Kenya, attributed to an early hominid species known as Australopithecus. Tools found here include stone flakes and corresponding cores, along with stone anvils used to chip the flakes from the cores. These items indicate that they were created via intentional flaking and not from accidental rock fracturing. The sediment layer they were found in was dated using paleomagnetic techniques that tracked magnetic field reversals over time. This site and others represent the earliest known examples of tool usage in Africa and are generally classified under the Lower Paleolithic period in African prehistory, a period that lasts up to 280,000 years before the present, although some researchers put this date back to 550,000 BC. This is followed by the Middle Stone Age or Middle Paleolithic, which lasts up to about 50 to 25,000 years ago, which in turn is followed by the Upper Paleolithic. This lasts to about 13,000 years before the present, when culture transitions into the pre-Neolithic or Neolithic states. The earliest examples of art production in Africa date from the Middle Stone Age, with the earliest known examples of non-representational art being dated at 77,000 years ago. This includes a cross-hatching on a piece of ochre found at Blombos Cave in South Africa. This piece and other abstracted representations suggest symbolic thought and language development associated with modern human behavior, as these designs are potentially culturally constructed and arbitrary in meaning. Many other sites in the region also show similar patterns, such as engraved ostrich eggshell fragments from the Diepkloof rock shelter dated at 60,000 years ago. The Apollo 11 caves in Namibia, known locally by the Nama people as Guachanas, are the site of the oldest figurative art known from Africa. These are painted stone slabs showing a variety of ambiguous animals, including felines, zebras, bovids, and possibly either a giraffe or an ostrich. These slabs have been dated to 30,000 years ago. Southern Africa has many more examples of rock art, much of which is attributed to the San people. I will cover this topic in more detail in an upcoming video. This video will continue to look at rock art from regions in North Africa, including sites in Egypt, Algeria, and Libya, to name a few. Many of these examples are from the Pre-Neolithic and Neolithic periods of African rock art. Rock art sites in northern Africa date from about 12,000 to 1,000 years ago, depending on the region. Images are mostly figurative, consisting of both wild and domesticated animals as well as human figures that may carry recognizable objects like weapons. Engravings are more common than paintings, possibly due to these being better preserved. The location of sites are on rocky outcrops or in rock shelters, some of these being hard to access. Climatic conditions as well as political conflicts in some of the regions has unfortunately made the study and preservation of some of these artworks a difficult undertaking. It is not always easy to identify the creators of these artworks. Similarities to other imagery by culture may be used, for example similarity in designs found in pottery, or an understanding of physical or material items in use by culture at a certain point in time, such as the use of horses. Most imagery is attributed to nomadic hunter-gatherer or pastoralist communities. Dating of imagery can be done based on stratigraphic layers or more commonly by identifying stylistic similarities in images. As such, a chronology of stylistic periods has been established. However, the dates for these periods remain estimates. This chronology acts as a guide only, as regional variations occur. There is also no evidence that imagery from different locations that contain a common theme are indeed related. Many sites are stylistically and geographically far apart from each other and located in inaccessible areas, making the study of rock art in North Africa hard to undertake. The first stage is known interchangeably as the Archaic, Early Hunter, Large Wild Fauna or Barbalis period, and is dated from 12,000 to 6,000 years ago. Wild animal engravings are the most common art form found during this period. Many of these images show species that have since become extinct in the area due to desiccation, a gradual drying of climatic conditions in the area. These include animals such as hippos, rhinos, elephants, and giraffes, as well as an extinct species of buffalo called a bubalis. Hunting scenes with human figures holding spears and axes also occur. Many examples from this period are found at the UNESCO site called Tassili in Algeria, which has over 15,000 images. Most images at this site are between 9 to 10,000 years old, and subjects include antelopes, crocodiles, cattle herds, and human figures hunting or dancing. Examples include the crying cows, a low relief of horned cattle with teardrops rolling down their faces, and a sleeping antelope, an image that is used in one of the banknotes in the local currency. Other examples from the period are found at the Caucasus Mountains in Libya, and are dated to about 12,000 years old. Overlapping with the large wild flora period is a period called the Roundhead period. It is characterized by human figures with disc-shaped heads created between 10,000 to 6,000 years ago. Human figures range in scale from a few centimeters to several meters tall. The heads and bodies are featureless while clothing is decorative. These figures have been interpreted as shamans, with the roundhead being a mask or headdress. One such example was dubbed the Great Martian God by explorer Henry Lott, who, aided by a local guide named Jabrin Mohammed Makar, explored many of the rock sites at Tassili in the 1930s. He would later write a book in 1958 called The Search for the Tassili Frescoes, in which he suggested that his images with the round heads not only represented shamans in ceremonial rituals, but also possible extraterrestrial beings. British anthropologist Jeremy Keenan refuted this in a 2003 review of Lotto's books, pointing out errors in image duplication, the use of misleading information and forgeries, as well as a citing of the political context of colonialism as being an influence on the interpretation of the art, a problem that some examples of rock art in southern Africa have also been subjected to. Some of the images at these sites have also been interpreted as having mushroom-like silhouetted bodies or decorations, although others see the shape as possibly representing arrowheads, plants, oars, or mere symbolism. These artworks could represent images showing the oldest known use of psychoactive mushrooms, used for altered states of consciousness and trance dance rituals, possibly reflected in the body positions taken on by the figures in the paintings. Critics of this idea point out that the features in the paintings are too stylized to be clearly defined, and could represent the use of abstract symbolism only. The images is also not universally applicable across cultural groups, and dating issues related to these images challenges the view of them as being the oldest example of this practice. One image, known as the Mushroom Shaman image, was made popular in the 1992 book Food of the Gods by Terence McKenna. This image was a rendering produced by his wife Kat Harrison, who worked from a photograph, filling in areas that were obscure. The resulting copy does not reflect the original accurately, and can be misleading to the readers of the book. Other researchers have suggested alternatives, such as the image being a hybrid sheep man figure, the mushroom-like protrusions in the silhouette being wool. The image is estimated to be between 7,000 to 9,000 years old. It became noteworthy due to the presence of mushrooms and the possible trance-like body position of the human figure. The figure wears a headgear and is adorned with body paint, suggesting a ceremonial figure of high status. Mushrooms that have been tentatively identified by mycologist Gaston Guzman as being from the Psilocybe genus surround the figure and may point to their importance in the ritual. The posture of the figure indicates a possible altered state of consciousness associated with hallucinogenic use. The state of trance is common in shamanism to access the spirit realm for guidance or healing purposes. This image also shows the use of the natural world as more than a food source, but as something to facilitate sacred rituals. Provides insight into the ceremonial and spiritual practices of ancient culture that produced it, as well as how psychedelics have been used from an early stage in human society. The image in Terence McKenna's book was titled The Beef-Faced Mushroom Shaman, but is considered an interpretation rather than a facsimile of the original. The image I am using is a similar image but lacks the mushroom fringe on the outline of the body, as well as the hand stencil and antenna-like protrusions from the head. I was not able to find a good quality reference for the image used for the copy produced by Kat Harrison. Following on from the Roundhead period is the Pastoral period or the Bovidian period. This period represents the most prolific style in terms of numbers of paintings produced. It is dated from 7,500 to about 3,000 years ago. Common imagery is of domesticated animals such as cattle, as well as daily life and hunting scenes. Human figures are shown as being in control of nature as opposed to being part of it. Imagery is rendered in a naturalistic and realistic manner. Examples include sites at the Majestic plateau of Libya where cattle remains have been found near to engraved images of cattle. This area has thousands of engravings, in particular large-scale imagery of animals such as elephants and rhino. One of the most iconic images is the fighting cats engraving, found at a place called Wadi Mathendos on the Majestic plateau. This engraving is found on an outcrop and shows two felines standing on their hind legs facing each other as if engaged in a fight. Additional engravings serve as milestones and lead up to this image. Many rock art sites in Egypt are from this period as well, although the oldest found so far date to 17,000 years old. Most sites are located either along the Nile, in the hills near the Red Sea, or in the western desert area. The most famous site is Wadi Sura, or the Painted Valley, also referred to as the Cave of Swimmers, located near the border with Libya. This site, discovered in 1933 by Hungarian explorer Laszlo Almasi, gets its colloquial name from the images of people floating with bent arms as if swimming. They are dated to the African human period, when the Sahara was more lush and wet than today. The pastoral period is followed by the horse and Libyan warrior period, or the Equidian period, dated about 3,200 to 1,000 years ago. This period marks the end of the Neolithic and Prehistoric periods for the region. It consists of images of horses, sometimes putting chariots with charioteers. It is believed that these chariots are more symbolic representations of land ownership and control of populations by an authority rather than literal depictions of events, as many desert areas are too rocky for chariots to be used. They may have been used for hunting purposes, but not warfare. This period coincides with the disappearance of certain species due to the desiccation processes, which could account for the changing subject matter. The final period, the camel period, dates from 2,000 years ago and features the domestication of the camel in its imagery, notably the one-humped dromedary. This also reflects the even further shift in climatic conditions to a more arid one we associate the region with today, making camels better suited for the arid conditions than horses. Many of the painted images of camels are in red, white, or sometimes black pigments, with colors often being combined for effect. The animals also appear in groups, with people or dogs, horses, and cattle. In some instances, palm trees and houses appear with the camel imagery, possibly showing an oasis. Female camels caring for their calves also feature, indicating the importance of breeding and herding for camels for the community. So, do you think we were visited by Martians wearing bee masks and growing mushrooms on their clothing? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and take care.